You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Hey, this is Dick from Lone Star Community Radio. We have a big announcement for Lone Star Community Radio and our listeners. We have partnered with another TV station. That's right, you will be seeing Lone Star Community Radio content on KVQT, Channel 12 in the Houston area. Now is a great time to start a show or sponsor a show with Lone Star Community Radio. For more information on everything that is happening, visit us online at irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776 and leave a message. And we want to also wish everyone a safe and happy Thanksgiving.
And good afternoon. You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio, and I am Ted Cox, the host of The Good News Show. You're probably listening to us on Conroe's own 104.5 and 106.1. If you're zooming up and down I-45, and whenever you get landed, you can pick the show back up on irlonestar.com and stream the rest of the show. It's always nice to be reminded on sort of why the show is happening, how it was conceived, because today is a really special show, and I think it's going to be an inspiration to a lot of folks. And so when we were beginning to talk about what type of show we wanted to create, and as the name would imply, it is called the Good News Show because we're really just bombarded with bad news, it seems, 24/7. It's anytime you turn on the local news or the national news or even one of the cable news networks, it just seems like it's just one bad story after another. And certainly as we came into and out of Harvey most recently, and then the hurricanes that hit the other states, Irma and Maria, it just seemed like we were still getting a stream of bad news. But so I wanted to create a show where we took just a couple of hours each week from 1 to 3 Central Time. If you're listening online, it's 1 to 3 Central Time on Thursday afternoons, where we talk to people who are just ordinary folks like you and I, but that are doing extraordinary things. Doing extraordinary things in their community. Many of the stories that we had just after Harvey had to do with the repair and the helping of our neighbors, feeding the neighbors, housing, cleaning, even providing haircuts. You heard Marquise Taylor, who went to a couple of shelters and sang to them to lift their spirits. We saw stories of people just doing what they could, something as simple as the cutting of somebody's hair when you're just dirty and nasty and grubby. Just the cleaning like that is just something to lift your spirits and to sort of increase the dignity of the people. And so we wanted to have a show just for a couple of hours that highlighted that talked to ordinary people that are doing extraordinary things. And so today our show is no different. Our first guest, Tina, who will make a more full introduction, is certainly no stranger to this station. And if any of you follow her on Facebook, you know that she's been on this extraordinary journey of getting healthy and losing a lot of weight. And many people I was seeing in her comments of her friends, just what an extraordinary thing this was. And so I wanted her to share her story and the encouragement of that, and people who may be struggling with weight, and how did you go about doing that? And in the second hour, we'll have a gentleman on. His name is Todd, and he'll get a more complete introduction. I'll let him do his introduction because he can do it with much greater justice than I could, who was quite an inspiration following 9/11, he was a history teacher. 9/11 happened and decided that this couldn't stand, that he wanted to go and fight for our freedom. And you'll get to hear his story and quite a bit more about that. So today is going to be one, I think it's really special to me because of the people who were involved and their stories. And I hope that as we tell their stories and have ways that you can join in if you're feeling perhaps what we're feeling, that this will be an inspiration and it'll be a help. So first of all, let me welcome Tina to the station, to the show.
Hi.
So Tina, for a lot of people probably already know you for all of the plays and the different things that you do already on the station and connected, but tell people a little bit about yourself and kind of what you do on the station and your interest in the arts and those kind of things.
Well, I try to get involved in the community as much as possible. I try to give back. The community's given so much that I try to give back to them in any which way. I volunteer wherever I can. Usually it's through theater here, and also through Lone Star. Here at if anybody needs anything, I try to help.
I can attest to that. I can attest to that firsthand. She has been a tremendous help in shepherding me and giving me advice and so forth on how to start a show. So thank you very much.
You're doing great. And thank you for blessing the community with your positive news.
Yeah.
It's nice to put on a station and hear something positive.
Yeah, and the thing that has been striking to me in the first 6 or 7 shows that we've done, it seems like it's been going on for a little longer than it has, but I look back and it's just a handful of shows, is that there are truly extraordinary folks that would never otherwise have their story told.
Right.
So
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's really, and I've gotten to know some folks that I probably would not have otherwise gotten to know. So thank you very much for coming on. So,
oh, yes. I enjoy your show, and I enjoy the positive feedback that you give us.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
But no,
so,
on my journey of losing weight, and I have to mention right now, Jason Price, he was my coach from the very beginning.
Okay.
He helped me. He's on Facebook. I can help you find him if ever you need to talk to someone.
Okay.
But he did say, Tina, this is what you need to do. Now it's up to you to do it.
Yes.
You know, he says, I can lead you, but you're going to have to follow.
Yes.
You know, you have to have that.
The way it always is.
Right, exactly. So
Okay.
he gave me some advice. He gave me some exercises, and you can go online and see his exercises. And I couldn't keep up with him. You know, I didn't have that strength yet.
Right.
But I thought I'm going to get there one day.
Right. Well, before we jump into the weight loss, which is going to be the central part of what we want to talk about, because no doubt there are people who are struggling with weight or health issues in which eating or other disorders may be contributing to it. But tell us a little bit more about yourself. Are you from Texas?
Oh, I'm born in Houston.
Okay, because your accent would tell me that you're a Texan.
I'm a Texan.
Okay.
I went to Las Vegas one time, and I shook someone's hand, and I said, hi, I'm Tina from Texas. And they went, no kidding. Definitely.
And you're after a few minutes in Vegas, you're like, I can't wait to get back to Texas. Okay.
Yeah, well, they were all real sweet, and I had a good time.
So you were born then and raised in Houston?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So.
But when I was 14, we moved out to the country, what used to be country,
right.
Fort Bend County.
Fort Conroe.
Yeah.
Fort Bend, okay.
Okay, before.
Yeah.
And then eventually got to Conroe as fast as I could.
Okay. Yeah, I remember Lyle Lovett one time said, I lived in the city, and I lived in the country, then I lived in the city, but I never moved. It's like the city just was expanding outward and outward. He lived in the Klein area. I think still does, maybe. And it's interesting that with the Houston kind of growing the way it is, being from South Carolina, I think I can fit my whole state, within the city limits of Houston.
Yes.
So you're from
state.
Houston?
I'm from Houston, born at St. Joseph Hospital.
Okay.
A lot of people go, oh my gosh, I was too. Well, if you're my age, that was almost the only hospital out here at the time.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay. And where? So you went to high school? Did you go to college here?
No, I did not. No,
okay.
I didn't go to college out here.
Okay.
But when I was out of school, and a couple of years later, I got married, had my children, and I became a playwright and just a writer and a photographer, and that's what I've been doing all these years.
Okay. Well, and certainly I know you only recently, but I know that in the evening, or tell a little bit about the plays that you do, that you act out, that perhaps you write and script and work out, that you perform here on the station.
Sure. Right? Lone Star Radio Troupe.
Okay.
Rick Sellers and I, we got together, and we decided that through Dick's help and permission to bring back the radio plays.
Yeah.
And so we do that, and we have a script of both plays, but also the community is welcome to come in and write a play, and I'll help them through that and writing for radio. Many people write, but they want to write a book. And on radio, you only have like 23 minutes to get the whole story done quick.
Oh, wow. So the whole play the length of it is 23 minutes.
Yes. And so they have a very difficult time trimming a novel to a play.
Oh, well, and unlike an actual play in a theater, where you have props and you have scenery.
3 hours.
You have to build in 3 hours. You have to build scenery through words and through music and through. Do you have sound effects and different things that
On the
for
radio.
those people who may not have heard your normal? So when does it normally come on? Or is there going to be another show coming up?
Sure. Every Sunday at 7 o'clock
Okay.
on ourlonestar.com right here. The first Sunday of every month, we play a new play, or we perform a new play. This time, both plays are going to be live. So coming up Sunday, November 5th, there'll be two live plays here at the studio.
Wow.
And then those will be replayed during the whole month.
Gotcha. Okay, so the first Sunday is live.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the subsequent Sundays are replays of that.
Right.
And so you're doing two different plays. And you want to tell a little bit about what the plays are going to be about? Can you tease it a bit, or do you want to be a surprise?
It can be a surprise.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so that's Sunday at what time?
7 o'clock p.m.
7 o'clock p.m.
They start at 7, and we finish up at 8.
Okay.
By 8 to, we're on the hour at 8 o'clock.
Wow.
And it's every Sunday. And
Wow.
it's a lot of fun. And if you're interested in casting, directing,
Yeah.
auditioning, let me know.
Okay.
Tina,
And how did they get you? I was going to say.
Tina at irlonestar.com.
Tina at irlonestar.com.
Thank you, love.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're interested in performing, or if you have a script, perhaps to be tuned a little bit and edited a little bit, so you'll take those types of folks that are willing, and you'll make a play out of it.
Right. And a lot of people, they bring me, like I say, a novel, and it just doesn't work. So they got to trim it down to 23 minutes before I even see it.
Wow, 23 minutes. I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
23 minutes. Wow. So, we're going to go and take our first break. As we come out, as Tina began to describe, I do want to get into the weight loss and what prompted it and how she did it and so forth. So, join us after the break to hear this incredible journey to health. Talk to you in just a few minutes.
A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Hey, Montgomery County, it's me, C.C. Holmes. And I would personally like to take this time to invite you, that's right, you, to join me every Saturday and Sunday from 3 until 7 p.m., where I will bring you the very best of smooth jazz, classic jazz, and indeed, yes, the soulful sounds of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So come along and get jazzy with me. That's right, jazzy. Right here, of course, on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 FM, or worldwide at irlonestar.com.
Welcome back to the Good News program with Ted Cox. You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio, and if you're listening live and you're jetting around Conroe or the Woodlands and up and down 45, you're listening to us on 104.5 and 106.1 on the FM dial. And if you're listening, you want to pick back up on the show and listen to the rest of it, you can stream live on irlonestar.com or download the app. Today we have a couple of really inspirational guest, and we're talking to Tina, who's telling us a little bit about her background and the other things that she's interested in, whether it's theater or volunteering, how much she gives back to the community, but in particular the plays that she puts on this very station on Sunday evening. So tune into that, and you'll be able to hear her productions and her voice and her characterizations and a lot of other folks that are producing some really fun stuff on the radio. So. But what prompted me to ask Tina to come on, among other things, was this recent journey of weight loss. And so I wanted her to be able to tell the story and to share her story, because it certainly was obvious that by the feedback from her friends and acquaintances on social media, on Facebook in particular, that it was quite inspirational to others. And so we want to try to bring that same sort of story and the same inspiration and the same motivation and the same encouragement to the folks who may be listening right now and struggling with weight or health issues. And for her to tell her story, share her story, and give us maybe some tips on what she did and is maintaining it. And I know she will always say, because I went through this as well, there's always that 5 more to go. So there's always be 5 more. So Tina, tell us kind of where it started, what prompted you to sort of come to the realization that you wanted or needed to lose weight, and how it started, and we'll kind of walk through the process.
Okay.
And then give people some encouragement.
Okay. First off, thank you for all the people writing me and giving me encouragement along my journey.
Right.
Because there were times where I was struggling, and they said, "Hold on, you can do it."
Right.
So there, you know, social media helped me to go through this, because I don't feel like I was alone.
Yeah.
But what started it was one evening, my husband and I were sitting there, and I looked at him and I said, "I want to lose weight," and he says, "Well, I do too." Well, with him wanting to lose weight as well, it helped with the meal planning.
Okay. Got it.
So I thought, okay, great.
So it was just a desire.
It's a desire.
So it was just a desire. It wasn't a sort of, let me say, health issue or health crisis that prompted it. It was just
a desire.
I'm heavy and I want to lose weight.
Right.
Okay.
For self-esteem.
Sure.
My husband, he's been overweight for years. He's a tall man, but he's always been a big man. And he could walk better if he could lose some weight.
Oh, okay.
And I was kind of thinking of him as well more than myself.
Okay.
Because for me, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see how overweight I was until I lost it.
Right.
You know, I'm going, oh my gosh.
Right. Who is that?
I know.
Or who was that? Now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wanted him to eat better, but I didn't want to nag him, coach him. I wanted it to be his decision.
Okay.
So I started eating better, which made him start eating better. And as I learned, he would learn.
Okay.
And he's lost 80 pounds.
What? And about how long
has
this?
For him, he lost a lot of weight real quick. Because men do, because it's muscle. Yes. You know, a lot of muscle.
And water.
Right.
Yeah.
But he lost 80 pounds within probably 7 months.
Wow.
And he's still losing it.
So a little more than 10 pounds a month.
Yes.
That's quite a lot.
And now he lost probably more than that the first month, because the doctor says, you know, when you have that muscle mass, it's heavier and you're trying to lose it. And like you said, water too. But
yeah.
But when you're heavier, you lose it faster because you have more energy you have to spend to exercise. And when you're down to that last 10 pounds, it's harder because you're lighter and you're not using
when your body's adjusted.
Yes.
I mean, it's so you say, I want to lose weight. I'm uncomfortable. I don't like what I see.
I don't
whatever those. And your husband did the same. And so this was about 10 months when it began,
January.
roughly?
January.
Okay, so.
Started, and it just happened to be January. It wasn't because of the new year.
Okay.
It just, hey, we decided.
Okay,
you know?
okay. And so you made the decision, and in your household, it's always helpful when your spouse is participating,
right,
or supportive. You know, so in my case, my spouse doesn't need to lose weight, but I did, and so she was very supportive in my weight loss. So both of you are now, you've made the decision. It's January. What did you do next? Did you say? Did you look at different types of diets? Did you look at exercise? Did you just cut back? Did you just eat healthy? I mean, what was it? What was the plan that you put yourself on?
First thing I did was go to Facebook.
Okay.
And I said, hey, I want to lose weight. What do I do, you know?
Okay.
And I got so much advice. And so once I got the advice in, I would look it up.
Okay.
And go, okay, what works for me? Because everybody's different. You know,
sure.
I can't advise anybody how to lose weight because, you know, their body's different from mine.
Right.
I'm 4'10", they might be 6'2".
Right.
You know, so... But what I did learn was carbohydrates turns into sugar.
Okay.
So you lower your carbohydrates. And then I learned how much carbohydrate to have. I learned about how sugar goes through the liver, and if it's too much, you can't process it. It goes into fat. So limit your sugar intake.
Okay.
I learned that you can have 15 grams of sugar a day, but 5 grams at a time. No more than 5 at a time because of the liver processing it.
Okay. Yeah, because the liver... it triggers an insulin response, right? And so once it burns up the sugar, anything left just gets tacked right onto the belly or other parts of the body.
Gluten,
and fat.
fat.
Right.
It goes to fat.
Okay.
So this is what I was learning. And then I get to that plateau, and I go, oh, I guess I'm stuck here. Well, then I had to learn how to get out of that plateau.
Okay.
And if you have to burn more calories than you eat, and so if I'm at that plateau, I knew I needed to burn more calories.
Okay.
To adjust to that.
Now, in the initial stage, as you're doing your research and you're finding out about sugars and carbs and perhaps combinations of foods and so forth, were you looking only at diet, or did you do a diet and exercise? Did you do both, or just one initially?
Well, initially, my husband was losing more weight than me, and I was jealous.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, okay, I'm not losing anything.
So you're not competitive at all?
No.
Okay.
And I go, dang, look at all the weight he's losing. I'm not losing nothing. What do I do? What do I do for myself?
Yeah.
So I researched why I
Okay.
wasn't losing. And so once I got to understand what I had to do, which was different from what he had to do.
Okay.
Because I never coached him. I never nagged him. I let him do his own thing because I'm not an expert. I'm learning. I had to do what was good for me.
Okay.
And as I'm learning what to cook and what adds on sugar or what adds on to the body, the fat, what does it, I started cooking different.
Okay.
I gave up every food item that's white.
Okay. I was just going to, so my next question as you continue on your story was, what's the one thing you had to give up that you really didn't want to give up?
I found this to be true. Somebody said, or I read, after a while, you're going to stop having cravings.
That's very true.
I quit having cravings.
Okay.
I was addicted to Dr. Pepper.
All my life. You are a Texan.
Yes. People don't see me with one anymore, and they just fall over and faint.
Now, did you go from Dr. Pepper to Diet Dr. Pepper, or did you just eliminate carbonated drinks?
When I learned what sugar was doing to me, I gave it up.
Right. Okay.
Now, my husband said I went through withdrawals. I said I didn't. He says, oh, yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Well, now you had the sugar and the caffeine. Did you continue to drink caffeine? Did you drink coffees without sugar or teas
I gave up both.
Sugar? So you gave up caffeine and sugar at the same time?
Yes. Yeah, my poor husband.
Ooh.
My poor dog. And so when I learned what I had to do for myself, it was to give up all white substance.
Okay,
mashed
so
carbs.
pasta,
rice,
okay.
potatoes,
bread. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you go to a different type of bread? Did you go to a more whole, so bread altogether?
No, because once I learned that I was just putting sugar back into my body by eating carbs, I gave it up.
Okay.
Now
you just would grab a handful of bacon and eat it.
Yeah, I love that part of it.
Right.
No, what I did was I went to my coach. And I said,
okay,
what do I do? I'm giving up so much, but I know I have to have something back.
Right.
And he sent me actually containers and how much carbs I can have that the liver can digest per day.
Okay.
But just break it up because the liver, again, can't take too much at one time.
Right.
So, he said I could have carbs, fruit, vegetables, meat, and all that, just proportion it out.
Okay.
And it's all about proportions, as I've heard 100 times. But it's all about that liver being able to take care of it.
Okay.
Just don't overload the liver.
Right, because you're having sort of a sugar and then an insulin response and then a crash.
Right, exactly.
And so, now, did you find that when you began to eliminate the sugar after you got over the caffeine sugar withdrawals, which you didn't have?
Yeah, really. Glad my husband's
what
not
you didn't
here.
have, exactly. Did you find that your metabolism sort of evened out during the course of the day? Did you find that you weren't having the spikes and the valleys during the course of the day?
Yeah, I think I had a lot of mood swings during that time period.
Give up caffeine.
Right. And so what I did do is just substitute it for a while tea.
Ah, okay.
But that has caffeine in it.
Right.
But I would sip on tea. But then I finally got used to drinking like sparkle water.
Okay.
I don't have it with me now.
Sure.
But really, actually, I went from no caffeine, no sugar, and even no tea for months.
Okay. Wow.
But then when I thought I needed a little bit of caffeine in me, I just missed it. I went to tea.
Okay.
And I don't really like tea unsweetened. So I gave that up. Okay. And just went strictly to water and sparkled.
So you have no sweeteners like honey, like natural sweeteners?
No. Again, because it would turn into sugar.
Okay.
You know.
So even in moderation, you wouldn't add any additives,
No.
even if it were naturally occurring, like, for example, honey. You would just better to eliminate it all.
Now, fruit has a lot of sugar in it.
Yes.
So, and I know I can have 15 grams of sugar a day.
Okay.
So I count that towards my sugar intake.
Okay.
And then I may eat half
And
a banana at a time. So,
Ah.
you know.
With some peanut butter.
No, not even that. I won't even
Okay.
eat peanut butter because there's so much fat in it.
Wow. Ah.
But
Okay.
but one day I'll get back to some of that.
Well, you can add it back in.
Right.
As you get that final 5.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you for kind of laying the foundation. We'll talk a little bit more about coaching and your ongoing plateaus and how you got over them. You're listening to the Good News program, and we have Tina on, who's talking about her incredible journey of losing all of this weight, and hopefully it'll be an encouragement to you. We'll talk to you after the break.
Hispanic Chamber Connections with Dr. Carlos Sanchez, president of the Woodlands Conroe Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, featuring event announcements, member highlights, and more. Tuesdays at 1 p.m., broadcasting from the heart of Conroe, Texas on irlonestar.com and Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question, comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station on irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
And welcome back to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. I'm your host for these couple of hours on a Thursday afternoon, and every Thursday afternoon from 1 to 3 Central. And again, the idea of the show is to talk with folks that are in the studio, like Tina and Todd, who will come up in just a few minutes, and to talk about their journeys. In this case, we're talking about the losing of weight, which has a number of really good byproducts, not the least of which is healthy and the ability to walk and all the other things that we'll probably talk about in a few minutes. And then to offer that encouragement. So you are listening to Lone Star Community Radio. If you're listening locally here in the Conroe, Texas area, up and down 45, you're probably listening to us on our FM station of 104.5 and 106.1. You can stream us live if you get to your destination and want to continue to listen on irlonestar.com. So we're going to pick back up with the story with Tina in terms of the motivation we've already talked a little bit about, in terms of her sort of looking in the mirror and talking to her husband that she wants to lose some weight. What different types of foods and the effects that they have on the body, namely sugar and white stuff, which is usually very overly processed. And so she mentioned her coach a couple of times. So I want to kind of pick the conversation back up and have you talk, Tina, a little bit about your coach and how did you find this person and is it a he?
A he.
Okay. What does he do for you and what frequency? And then as you kind of think through that process that you have with your coach, for folks that either don't want to have a coach or can't afford a coach or anything, just any advice that you may have for them, because you found a lot of your motivation on social media and a lot of your information on social media in different places. So what advice you would give? So kind of pick back up on kind of the role that your coach played in teaching you and motivating you with your journey.
He basically just said, okay, when you need motivation, I'm here for you.
Okay.
You know.
So did you meet at a regular time each week? Or so it's just as needed?
As needed.
Okay.
And he gave his time to me. So he was given, he's a coach in California, actually.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I met him online.
Okay.
And fell in love with him. And so he helped me through it. He's like a son to me now.
Okay.
So, and he's talked to me throughout the 10 months.
Okay.
But he got me started by saying, you know, this is what you can do, portions, and this is the foods you can eat.
Okay.
Just be careful, and it's up to you to do the rest, and that's kind of how we left it.
Okay. Okay.
But for anybody who wants to find him, his name is Jason Price on Facebook.
Okay.
So he'll talk to you individually and help you.
Well, and I know that in trying to connect with you, you've already hit your upper limit with friends on Facebook.
I know. And I know.
So people could still follow you, right? So they could
Yeah.
follow your journey. So Tina has quite a lot of friends.
Well,
She helps a lot of people in the community, so a lot of people are connected to her. So, but they can find him. What was his name again, please?
Jason Price.
Okay, so Jason.
Yeah.
And so he was helping you primarily on the food side.
Right.
So
right,
it was
right.
how to do portion control.
Right. And
the matching of carbs, so complex
Right.
carbs. So.
Right. And that's what it's all about. I do still eat. I still get a Texas ribeye.
Oh,
And
okay.
but instead of that baked potato, I get the size of vegetables and maybe a bowl of chili or something like that.
okay.
You know.
Yesterday's
Or corn-
hamburger.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So I do eat meat. Now,
Okay.
at the beginning, I did not eat meat.
Okay.
I ate eggs for
interesting.
my protein and
Okay.
other sources because meat does have a lot of fat in it, and you should only have, I'm told, meat once a day, not 3 times a day.
Okay.
Because there is a lot of water in it, there is a lot of salt, and just red meat's not that great for you.
Okay.
But I know that turkey and chicken and fish, and even red meat's fine. Just
Sure.
proportion it out, 3 ounces at a time.
Ooh.
I never gave up.
So 3
flavor.
ounces. But if I had 3 ounces, could I have 3 ounces like every 60 seconds? And
That's kind of what I do when I go to Texas Roadhouse. I just have it all at once.
Exactly. Okay.
Because we still eat.
Right.
Now, I told you earlier, we don't have cravings anymore.
Yes.
But there
About
are
how
times-
long did it take?
Oh, gosh.
To
about
sort of
3
get-
months. About 3 months.
Was caffeine and sugar the hardest of the cravings?
I
or
was
it-
so surprised.
Huh.
To this day, I do
Huh.
not miss cookies, ice cream. I don't miss any of the sweets. I was never
Wow.
a sweet eater anyway. I was more of a carb eater.
Okay.
Mashed
okay.
potatoes, gravy, that sort of rice.
I think one of my favorite movies around the Christmas season. This will probably tell a lot about me, which I probably shouldn't be talking on the radio, but is Elf. And I could really relate to Elf as he talked about the 4 major food groups: candy corns, candy canes, and syrup. And I went, I know those are the 4 food groups that I like myself. So.
Well, my husband, he's a sweet eater.
Okay, and that's my downfall.
Yeah, and that was his. Now, he had times he struggled. He doesn't anymore, though. The craving is gone.
Okay.
But I will say this. There are times when a craving did hit us. Something on TV would come on.
Okay.
And we'd go, oh, my gosh. And we'd sweat it out for a week. We just, we got to have it.
Right.
Well, you know what we did? We went and had it. If there was an ice cream
Right.
cone, we had it. If
Right.
we saw Dairy Queen advertising that ice cream, we got finally a week after just
Chocolate
craving.
dip.
Yeah, that's
Now
what
see what we're
that's
now we're corrupting people.
But that's what I would do. I'd
Yes.
go and have it to get
Yeah.
rid of that craving, and believe me, it worked.
I
To this day, I'm over a Dairy Queen dip cone
know.
because I had it. I had the craving. I took care of it. It's gone. I haven't had another one in 9 months since I've had one.
Right.
But when I did have a craving, I did take care of it.
I know that, and that was my downfall. I haven't really talked a little bit, too much of it on the air, but I talked to you kind of off the air, that a few years ago, about almost 12 or 14 maybe years ago now, I did something similar. I looked in the mirror and said, this is just awful. I'm way too heavy. And so at the time, there were different, as they are now, different sort of diet programs. There's South Beach and Atkins and different ones that purport to have different methods. But Atkins was the one that I selected, which was perhaps similar to yours in that you can have low carbs and then you build in carbs over time as you've regulated the body. And I ended up losing about 38 pounds.
Wonderful.
In addition to, or rather in advance of, running a marathon. And so I wanted to run. So I ran my first marathon, which was San Francisco. So, note to anybody who wants to run a marathon, don't pick San Francisco. There are hills everywhere. Hate Street was
Inclines.
the worst.
Oh, my gosh.
And, at the end of marathons, as I've talked to people over time, there are 2 types of people at the end of the marathon. I'll never do that again or I'm hooked. And so I ended up finishing like 29 marathons,
Wonderful.
which is the reason why I think my back hurts and my hips hurt, my knees hurt now, but because I overdid it. But like you, I discovered that food, what I put in my body, had such an effect on how I felt.
Right.
That, like you said, the cravings that I had, and your body does adjust. The metabolism and the sources from which it draws from for its energy does adjust. So.
Right, exactly. I do want to mention there's a lot of false advertising out there too. you're not going to lose weight by a pill. And you're not going to buy a belt that's going to melt away the belly fat.
That's true.
It's determination that's going to do it.
Right.
And I'm still on a journey, and I will be for the rest of my life. It's not like, I lost this weight and now I'm done. No.
Right.
I have to exercise every day. I'm 60 years old. I have to exercise every day to maintain.
Okay.
Now, I'm also going to tell you, ladies and men, but ladies, when you lose that weight, don't expect that teenage body back. Once you take it out of that package, it doesn't fit right back in just right, And so your body, you have to tone. And now when I exercise, because I did join a gym. That's one thing I did do.
Okay.
Why did I join a gym? To motivate me. Because motivation is the hardest part for me at times.
Right.
I don't want to get up and get on that exercise bike, and I do, and I'm just not motivated to go out and walk around the lake like I usually do. But you pay a gym,
right?
You're going to be there.
Yeah.
And then the people around you motivate you.
That's true. I know when a good friend of mine who ran most of the races with me we now live in separate states, as a matter of fact. But knowing that he was there on Saturday mornings for our long runs, especially those mornings where it was cold and rainy. This was in Atlanta, Georgia, when we were running and training. Knowing that he was there got me up, got me out, and kept me running. So having a gym or having a partner, in your case, your spouse in terms of diet, or a gym or maybe friends in terms of exercise, can play a huge role in motivating. Knowing that somebody else is doing it, or you're doing it for someone else, can have a huge role in keeping you motivated.
Right. And so with the weight loss, I lost 60. I still have 5-10 more to go for my size.
Yeah.
And I'm under doctor's care. I exercise to get rid of the weight, but I'm now really having to focus on toning.
Right.
Because the body stretches out, the fat's gone, now you got to tone.
Right.
And so, ladies, just know that. And I think toning is going to be the roughest part for me, not the losing of the weight.
Okay.
So I'm having to lift weights because that burns calories and it tones as well.
Right.
But I do the treadmill 2.5 miles each time.
Okay.
I go about 3.5 miles at a time. So I finish in about 40 minutes.
Okay.
And there are times I've gone 3 miles, but I'm just saying average.
Yeah.
And to maintain, I go twice a week at least on the treadmill. But sometimes I go more than that. I go an average really probably 4 times a week.
Okay.
But I'm having to change my gym activities because, yes, I'm losing the weight, but I really got to tone now.
Okay.
So now I'm lifting weights or I'm doing different type of exercise to tone.
Okay.
So I'm trying to make that package look better, even though, you lost the weight, now you got to tone it.
I know. I sat down the other day to make a list of all the good things there was about getting old. I didn't get very far. Yeah. Because like everything hurts, and you're, so for those of you who are still young, don't do anything that we did growing up and as we got older, because it does get. You always heard it gets harder when you get older, and you think when you're younger, I'll lose it. I can, not eat for a week or eat differently for a week, but
walking,
gosh, it does get so much harder.
It does. It truly does, and you're right about that. Now, I have found for my aches and pains, walking. My husband and I walk.
Right.
We don't jog.
Right.
Okay, because of the joints and hurting that joints up. But definitely walking is what we do, and treadmill and exercise bike and different types of weight. Now, I want to tell you real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know we're running out of time.
Yeah, we got a couple minutes.
Now,
plenty of time.
Okay. I told you how jealous I am of my husband.
Uh-huh.
He's jealous of me now. I love it.
So now he's going to be motivated.
Yes.
So I'm sure he's either listening or you'll play this back. So, yeah. So, and again, just thinking that you mentioned something kind of in passing, that you were under a physician's care.
Yes.
And it occurred to me while we're talking about weight loss and diet and exercise and so forth, we would in fact, I think, be remiss if we didn't mention that by no stretch are we given advice here on what to do or how to do it, but rather the intent was for you to share your story so that it could motivate others, that a key critical component to all of this is being under a doctor's care to know your blood and how your blood is reacting in terms of blood sugars and things like that.
Your BMI.
Your BMI, your stress level, the ability for your heart and other organs and so forth to take an increased amount of exercise and stress on them. So by all means, if you intend to start a diet or exercise program or both, do go under physician's care. Get checked out to begin with and maintain that physician's care to make sure that nothing's going wrong in the way you're dieting.
All right. And that's what first thing I say on social media. What's good for me may not be good for you.
Exactly.
You talk to your doctor. This is what I do may not work for you. Same with my husband. I
Yes.
can't tell him what to do.
Yeah, well, so my wife is well, you're listening to Tina. This is Good News program on Lone Star Community Radio. We'll finish up our conversation with some tips and tricks as we come back. We'll talk to you on the other side of the break.
Hey guys, I'm Joey Savage.
Corey DLG.
We are Nerd Thug Radio. Catch us every Monday from 1 to 3 and check out our website, nerdthugradio.com.
We like to talk about quilting, horseback riding, and baking quiche.
Actually, we don't, but we do like talking nerdy to you.
That's right. Every Monday from 1 to 3 p.m., hashtag talking nerdy to you.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show. With monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
Did you know there are more than 790 abused and neglected children currently in foster care in Montgomery County? Will you help make a difference? I'm Allie Stevens with Casa Child Advocates of Montgomery County. We train and support volunteers to be the voice of children in the foster care system. Kids are removed from their home because of abuse and neglect, and we need volunteers just like you to advocate for these children. To learn more about becoming an advocate, please visit CasaSpeaksForKids.com. That's CasaSpeaksForKids.com.
And welcome back to the Good News Show. We're in our final segment with Tina, who, again, you've gotten to know quite well now in terms of her journey for weight loss. And we were just mentioning right before the break that the advice that we would give is before you do anything, before you start anything, make sure that you go see your physician, get the proper blood works and any stress test, and make sure that if you have any ailments that are heart-related or lung-related, that you get all those checked out. This is not intended to be any diet or exercise advice, but rather just for Tina to share her journey on losing 60 pounds and her husband losing 80 pounds.
So far.
Everybody.
It's a journey.
Yeah. And that the diet she went on, and we'll maybe recap some of those key elements that she learned, and now the exercise. So as we start to think about the folks that may be listening to us, what would be some of the advice that you would have? Let's say that there are people listening and they're where you were in January. So they're looking in the mirror, or they have some other motivation, either it's health related, or like you said, you look in the mirror and you go, I don't recognize that person anymore because it's a heavy version of the earlier me. What would be some of the advice that you might be able to give them to initiate it? And we'll talk a little bit about how to keep going, but how would you, somebody says, I want to do this.
Okay.
What would you tell them?
Well, watch the carbs. Carbs turns into sugar.
Okay.
So, people give up sugar, but then they eat heavy carbs. So just watch. I still eat. I've never starved myself. I just know what to eat. Protein. The body lives on protein. You got to have protein. Meat or eggs or however you want to look it up. Find your protein.
Okay.
Find out how much protein your body needs per day.
Okay.
Your doctor will tell you, or you can look it up actually online.
Is it based on the weight or your?
Yeah.
We talked about BMI. Of course, that's the body mass index.
Mm-hmm.
And that's can you explain a little bit up to somebody who may not be familiar with that term, what a BMI is?
Yeah. Well, what you're basically doing is there's fat within your body. You calculate, and you can do this online. Just go to BMI calculator.
Ah.
And
I didn't know there was. Okay.
Yes, and my doctor is the one that pointed it out to me, and he said, keep it up, keep watching it.
Okay.
And I'm supposed to go back when I'm at 18, and right now I'm at 24, 23.
Okay.
But you put in your height, you put in your weight.
Okay.
And it tells you what your BMI is. When I first walked in, I was at 30 something, and now I'm down to 24.
Okay.
So it's gone down. When I'm at 18, I'm going to have another liver scan, and we'll see if there's any fat on my liver.
Okay.
Now, I didn't start this because of health issues.
Okay.
But I know I had fat on my liver from a previous scan.
Ah, okay.
And
okay.
so
okay.
when you're at 18.5, you should be, for me now.
Yeah.
Somebody else
and it may
maybe,
vary, so
right,
we
but,
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be 23 for others.
Okay.
But usually 23 to 18.5, you're in your range.
Okay.
Okay. But before a scan is done on me, we're going to wait until I'm at 18.
Okay.
Or 18.5. So anyway, you can do it online. You can BMI calculator, put in your weight, your height. It'll tell you that.
Okay.
Now, also, people say, don't weigh yourself, do weigh yourself. Don't weigh I weighed myself every day, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
It told me what foods were salty. If I gained a lot of water, I go, that food gave me a lot of water. I'm going to avoid it. Or a lot of salt. A lot of salt would be in certain foods.
Okay.
So I would go, okay. It says I can eat it. It's only 100 calories, but it made me gain 5 pounds overnight.
Okay.
So I would avoid that. A lot of sodiums.
Now, did you track what you were eating? Did you have a journal or something where you tracked either the percentage of carbs or the actual food or the calories? Did you track it at all?
I made sure I ate my protein per day.
Okay.
I could have, I can't remember now how much, at the beginning, but it's like 91 grams of protein, 96. Some are more. Ken would be more. My husband's, he's 6'2", so he's double whatever I can have.
Okay.
But so I'd make sure I had the amount of protein I should have for my height, and then I'd make sure I didn't go over my carbs, and I made sure I didn't go over the 15 grams of sugar.
Okay.
So I really didn't count calories as much as I counted my intake of carbs, sugar, and proteins. I made sure your body has to live on protein. I kept reading where it said, eat meat, you'll lose weight. And I thought, no way, because I gave up the meat and I was eating eggs.
It does seem counterintuitive.
It does.
Because
here's a steak looking at you, and you go, I know that's more calories than 2 boiled eggs.
Right.
Well, when I got into a plateau, as we kind of talked about at one time.
Yeah.
And I only had about 3 plateaus.
Okay.
But one of them, I thought, okay, I'll try the meat thing. They say to change it up.
Right.
But I know it's more calories, but,
right.
I don't want to do it. I tried the meat thing, and the first thing I did, I noticed 3 pounds of weight. I went, what? Well, then I looked it up, and they said, when you eat meat, you're going to gain more water weight.
Huh. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I went, okay, so I'll keep trying. Well, sure enough, I gave up a lot of, I didn't give up. I switched from eggs, let's say, to meat. And
because the protein was denser or more protein?
Well, as your body feeds on protein, you have to give it protein. If you don't, it said the more protein in a food, the more calories you burn, because your body has to work harder to digest it.
It does work hard, and it digests it over a longer period of time.
Right. So meat versus eggs, it works harder to digest. You're burning more. So when you're sleeping, you're burning more calories.
Right.
So they say always sleep good at night, because otherwise you'll gain weight. Well, what happens if I wake up at 2 a.m, I start housework? I didn't give my body enough rest to digest, to burn those calories.
Okay.
So it is true. I know it's on my body.
Right.
Do sleep. Get that sleep that you need, that they say, to lose weight. And it's very true for me, anyway.
Right.
So we go out to Texas Roadhouse, and I'll get that big old steak. I mean, I'll have that hamburger, not on bread, not on the bun, okay?
Yeah.
I'll put onions on it, and I'll, even the seasonings, they say watch your seasonings, there's sugar. But if I watch that sugar in there, I'll make sure I'm not over my 15 grams.
Okay.
I may not have the fruit for the day because I had a lot of ketchup.
Okay. Ketchup's a food group. Right?
There you go. It's a tomato. That's fruit.
But it is remarkable again, as I was doing the Atkins, which was a really low carb, and then you add the complex carbs back in, the broccolis and cauliflowers and those. It's amazing how much sugar is added, as you already mentioned about ketchup. How much sugar is added in all of those types of processed foods.
I don't eat any processed foods.
Yeah, because if you take stuff out, you got to add it back in for taste.
Right.
And usually it's the sugar or salt or both. Because if you look at the sodium in like a can of soup, for example, it's amazing.
I know.
1,900, 1,000, 1,100 milligrams of salt. It's just incredible.
But you go, but it's only 100 calories. Or 70 calories.
It's just a little can of soup.
And a steak is 800 calories. There's no way I'm going to eat a steak over a can of soup.
And it's Campbell's. They love me. They care for me. Don't you know that?
Good.
And you're like, exactly. You're like, wait a minute.
But I lost more weight by staying on meat.
Okay.
Than I did on soups or salad or whatever.
Right.
For my body type.
Right.
And I thought, okay, they do know what they're talking about. Eat more meat. Now, I don't eat meat every day. I do switch it out.
Okay.
I don't want to hit a plateau because when I hit one, a whole month I could be stuck. And that's very discouraging.
Right.
And I want people to know that. You get
I was just going to ask as we, have just a few minutes is to start, so you started the thing, you started the journey, you saw some good results. You've had 3 plateaus. So kind of take the last couple of minutes that we have and talk to people as they maybe start this journey. They see some early successes, maybe even early big successes, and then they're going to stop. So
Well, exercise. Now, I didn't start with exercise, probably as soon as I should have.
Right.
But once I started exercising, I'd lose 3 or 4 pounds. And they say, well, that's just water.
Right.
I said, I'm good with that. It motivated me.
But it didn't come back.
No,
or it may have come back slightly if you rehydrated.
Right, but not. But I got out of my plateau, and so I started losing weight again.
Right.
So I might plateau for almost a month. I would say at time. Well, I'll say 3 weeks, and it was very discouraging. But when I discovered exercise and stayed with it, I'd come home and I was just so proud that I lost that weight.
Right.
So then I would eat right on top of that, of course, and then I got to know what foods did bloat me up, give me the salts and stuff, and stay off of those because I weighed myself every day.
Okay.
And so once I started exercising, I got out of those plateaus, and I really haven't been in one since.
Okay. And you're just talking about the exercises you've added in. You've added in early. It sounds like more
cardio.
Cardio. And now you're probably. It sounds like you may have a little bit of a mix between cardio and some type of resistance training, weight training,
for my legs, and because this is one thing, and I want people to understand.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of weight, but I have no strength.
Okay.
So now I have to build that strength.
Okay.
Okay. It didn't take away muscle because I've been exercising. I've gained. I haven't got muscle tone where I'm young like Popeye, but I didn't lose
Arnold.
Right. But I didn't lose body mass. I didn't lose muscle.
Okay.
So I've stayed toned in the sense because I've exercised the whole time.
Right.
But I need to be toner because I've lost so much.
Right.
And so just exercise, stay motivated, and I'm here for
Surround
anybody.
yourself with people who will encourage you.
Right. That's what I did.
And track it and stick with it. Because you are living evidence that if you start it, you stay, you crash through the plateaus, you will lose the 60 plus pounds.
Yes, and my husband's very good to me too, and we're good to each other, and we're helping each other through this. And I'm very, very proud of him as well.
Yeah,
he's doing well.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for coming and sharing your story. Hopefully, it was motivational at the beginning as people begin to hear you, and then to encourage to stick with it because your body will react and it will lose the weight.
You got it, and I'm here for anybody who needs that help.
Well, thank you so much, Tina. We look forward to hearing you on Sunday evenings.
Thank you.
Especially coming up with the new one at the this Sunday.
This Sunday live.
So we'll be on the lookout for it. Well, thank you so much, Tina.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776.
Hey guys, I'm Joey Savage.
Corey DLG.
We are Nerd Thug Radio. Catch us every Monday from 1 to 3 and check out our website, nerdthugradio.com.
We like to talk about quilting, horseback riding, and baking quiche.
Actually, we don't, but we do like talking nerdy to you.
That's right. Every Monday from 1 to 3 p.m., hashtag talking nerdy to you.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. Right on. Welcome back to the Good News program with Ted Cox. I have our next guest on, and in full disclosure, he is actually not only an inspiration to me, but he is my brother-in-law. He's Todd Winkel. So say hello to everybody, Todd.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, good. Oh, you did well. So Todd, obviously, Todd has known me now for 30 years because I've been in his family for 30 years. And the reason why I wanted to have Todd on today, much like Tina's story, which is a great inspiration story, is he heard sort of a call on his life in terms of, and I'll let him tell the story, but in terms of entering into the Army following 9/11. And I think it's quite an inspiration what he did to enter, and then what he did, of course, in Iraq. But more than that, he is, I say this of Todd, and of course I have to say this because he won't say it about himself. He's an incredibly humble guy. And that Todd's never met a stranger. I mean, Todd has friends everywhere, including there's somebody listeing in Mongolia. As I understand.
Right now,
it's probably streaming live right now in Mongolia. He has some friends over there. But he's quite an inspiration in what he's done on his life. And he's just an incredible storyteller. We tease him probably too much about where he has the most obscure trivia. So never get into a trivia contest with Todd because he will win.
Oh, and experiences, because we had that with the Russian satellite that one night out on the farm. So, yeah.
Exactly. So before we start telling too many stories, I want Todd to introduce himself, anything that he would like to say by way of introduction. And then I want for him to start his story, pick up his story as he was a high school teacher, a history teacher, and then 9/11 happened. So
Right.
Go ahead and make whatever you'd like to introduce and then kind of pick up the story as a teacher, and then what happens?
Well, greetings, everyone. My name is Todd Winkel. I've been accused of being a master, a jack of all trades and a master of some.
Right.
If I were to have an epitaph on my tombstone, it should say, been there, done that, with an asterisk that says, to a certain extent. I wasn't always going to be a teacher. That's the amazing thing.
Yeah,
when I was in high school,
yeah,
I thought I was going to. Now, what's funny is, I was interested in the military when I was in 5th grade.
That's true. Yeah.
As a youth, and what I found when I was in the military was guys who enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Had a calling then, felt it. But I went through and I thought I'll go and I'll become. I wanted to do something for society, so I thought I'd be a police officer until I got to college, and I took a criminal justice class and interviewed some police officers and realized there are some situations I don't think I could, really keep my cool on.
Right.
That's very tough. They have an extremely tough job. And even to this day, I'll tell them, hey, thank you for your service. And they go, well, what do you do? I said, I'm a former high school teacher. And they go, how can you do that job? And I think, me, how can you do your job? And,
You're right.
But I went to college. I realized I couldn't do that. And a professor by the name of Dr. Gary Bell, I took a lot of my history classes, and, he was my professor.
Yeah.
He said, you should take an education class, see if that was it. Because I thought, I'll have a history degree. Maybe I'll go to law school. Maybe I'll do something with it. We'll see.
Yeah.
And I took a few education courses and decided to change my, go ahead and pursue that.
Yeah.
And became a high school teacher.
Okay.
And when I did the certifications, everyone was telling me, don't do just history, do a composite. So I got my composite for history, geography, government, and economics.
Okay.
So I can teach all those subjects.
Okay.
My first job that I got after, it's kind of funny. I filled out 33 applications from Dallas all the way down to South Texas.
Okay.
And None of them called me back. So that's where you're just feeling like, man, kicking the shins, great. More like a kick in the gut. And then I got my opportunity in Huffman, Texas.
Okay. Now you're a native Houstonian.
Native
so we
Houstonian.
should probably say.
Oh, yeah. Native
down
son.
in the Klein area.
Yep.
Champions area.
Champions area. Yep. And I when I got into teaching, that's where I went, and I taught for a year in Huffman, Texas, which is an extremely small town.
Yeah.
Seriously, one blinking red light, FM 2100 and 1960, and I think everybody there knows that light. It may have grown since then. It's been 20 years. Then I taught in Humble.
Okay.
Taught there for a year. I took a break. Then I returned to teaching in 2000, and I was teaching there. And I used to tell my students, because this is the way I was raised by my parents, who were children of the 40s and the 50s.
Yes.
If anything like Pearl Harbor, you'll join, you'll fight. My dad would always stress that.
Who was in the Army? Was a doctor.
He was a doctor in the Army. He was a captain.
Yeah,
in the medical corps.
Okay.
They told him he has a choice. He could either be drafted, be a private, be given an M1, and or he could join, be a doctor.
Right.
He thought about for about a nanosecond. I'll be a doctor. I'll be an officer. People salute me. Okay.
I love it.
So he did that, and so I would tell my students, anything like Pearl Harbor, I'll join and fight. And sure enough, when the chickens come home, it's like, okay, now talk about the ultimate put up or shut up. Because when the events happened, I was 32 years old. I weighed between 260 and 265 pounds, and I'm 5'11", so kind of built like a pear, and I was not in good shape, couldn't hardly run.
Right.
The journey to getting the Army is another long story on that one, but
Yeah.
I'll put it to you this way.
Yeah.
One of my students in the back, this kid Donald, I'll never forget him. He, a kid that grew, he lives in acres homes, and he said, "So, Mr. Winkle, what are you going to do?" And there you go. And I said, "Well, I know what I'm going to do. I don't know what you're going to do. You can either watch the TV and watch history, or you can watch me try to get into the military."
Right.
The first group I called was the Marine Corps, because, and I explained to my students, this could be a terrible accident. It's an airplane.
Now, were you in class when this was happening?
I was in class.
And so just describe that day. Did somebody come into the classroom and say, "Hey, this is happening"? Did you have TVs in the classroom?
We had TVs in the classroom.
Of course, they weren't on.
And the TV was on a cart. Now they have them up in the corners.
Okay.
It was on a cart, and a student by the name of Steven, this kid looked like Lenny Kravitz, and I like Lenny Kravitz as the musician.
Yeah.
But Steven was my class clown, and he would tell jokes. He was humorous. He was a good student. So he opens up the door. And he goes, "Mr. Winkle, did you hear about the World Trade Center?" And I said, "Steven, save that joke for next class." He goes, "No, can I turn on the TV?" So he turns on the TV, and there's the tower is burning.
Right.
And
so at this point, both planes have hit.
Just the first
Just
plane.
the first.
Just the
Okay.
first plane.
Right.
So he gave a little update to everyone in class. I said, "Steven, tell them what you know." So he updated the class.
Okay.
And then I explained to the students, hey, back in the 1930s, a B-25 had crashed into the Empire State Building on a foggy day. But that's different technology. This could be an airplane that had a mechanical problem. It could be a horrible thing. Trying to explain, because kids are going, "Oh my God, it's a terrorist attack." And I'm like, let's before we go there, let's go with what may happen. Let's go with something less before we just jump the gun.
Right.
And then the second airplane hit, and I let out an expletive you shouldn't let out.
Yes.
Because, reality, then it's like, oh, yeah. And that's when I said, Donald then said, "Hey, Mr. Winkle, what are you going to do?" And that's when I called the Marine Corps, then I called the Navy, then I called the Air Force, then I called the Army, because that's just the way the cards I had set up.
Sure. But at this point, you had already made the proclamation in class. It's at least once, if not many times.
Every year I taught.
Okay. If this happens, I'm serving.
I'm serving.
And so now this has happened.
And now I'm serving.
And now you're like, okay.
And I had to go,
but that wasn't your only motivation. I mean, you felt, well, I'll let you tell it, but you felt more than just, I've got to uphold what I'm saying. You loved your country and wanted to defend it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, when I saw that happen, it's like more than just, this is something.
It wasn't just, oh my gosh, now I've got to go do this.
Yeah, exactly. Someone, after that had happened, I was like, that's it. Someone's attacked.
Right.
I want to defend my country.
Right.
Who knows how far this is going to go? I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
Right.
Let's do the process. And it was a process, and learned a lot through that process. And, I eventually said, the Navy, I tried to become an officer in the Navy.
Okay.
I didn't have glasses at the time. So I thank you, Army, for the eyesight problems. But I'm not going to say it's because I was in my 40s either.
No, we won't.
We won't say it's age. Anyhow, I said, okay, let's do this. I want to fly. So, and I'll never forget the first two questions on that test were, do you have a pilot's license? Are you a certified teacher? And those were the very first two questions.
Teacher you had. Did you have a pilot's license?
No, I always loved airplanes, and I regret never having taken a flying lessons.
Yeah.
No, I've got a motorcycle license. I've got my CHL. I've got my mail order doctorate of divinity. I've got all these things. I just don't have the pilot's license yet.
Okay.
I'm certified to work on diesel engines. I've got almost as many degrees as a thermometer, and it's just legitimate and illegitimate. But I remember those, and I took the test, and they never took my packet. 7 months of waiting, and I passed their physical test. I did all the stuff to do it. Finally, just said, forget it. I called the recruiter while driving up to Sam Houston State University to get my I had to get my transcripts. I called her up and I said, hey, you know what? 7 months, nothing's happened. I'm going to go to the Army. And she said, well, they'll just make you an E4. And I said, well, then I'll just be the best E4 in the Army. Went up there, and my recruiter, Danny Jimenez, who I keep in contact with on Facebook.
Okay.
Most guys in the Army have bad feelings towards their recruiters.
Yeah.
I don't. He was a great guy, and he was honest. I mean, which is another, sometimes your recruiters don't tell you everything.
Yeah.
But I called him up and I said, hey, I want in. He said, okay, what do you want to do? And I had a coin out. I said, if it goes heads up, I want to do photojournalism. I want to be Ernie Pyle. I want to be the guy on the front line writing for Stars and Stripes. He said, okay. And if it's tails, I go infantry. He said, okay. So we took a coin, we flipped it up in the air, and it landed on, it showed tails. He said, you're in the infantry now. I said, not a problem. So, and what's funny is when I got to the MEPS station, the Military Indoctrination Processing Station, MEPS, I could have changed it. I could have changed my mind, but I stayed with it. In fact, I could have gone over to the Marine Corps and signed up with them. And he would have hated me. But I committed and said, I want infantry and send me anywhere. Okay. And you'll never guess where they sent me in the world. It was...
Yeah, well,
it was a God thing.
Yeah, let's hold that, because I'm sure people are going to go, oh, poor Todd. But we'll come back after the break and continue to talk with Todd Winkel, and his story as he made his way from history teacher to Army from 9/11. And talk about a number of trivial things.
Oh, boy.
That he's got some great stories to share. So thanks, Todd. We'll be right back after the break.
Attention movie lovers, The Ticket Stub is a new radio show servicing Montgomery County that is meant for you. The Ticket Stub is available live every Thursday at noon on FM 104.5 and 106.1, as well as anytime on irlonestar.com. Connor and Dick will let you know what's coming out in the theater, what is worth streaming, and what's going on in the world of film. The Ticket Stub, your home for movie talk.
Remember to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on your computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
And welcome back to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. I am your host each Thursday afternoon from 1 to 3 p.m. Central Time is when we broadcast live. If you're zooming up and down 45 or around Conroe or maybe north of Woodlands, you can pick us up on 104.5 and 106.1 on FM. As you get landed, you can continue to hear our program and streaming live on irlonestar.com. And again, we are the Good News Show. We try to take a break each Thursday afternoon for just a brief couple of hours, just to take a break from just the constant bad news that we get on even social media and some of the news networks, and certainly some of the cable news networks that just bombard us with just what seems like bad news after bad news. We're just taking a break. We're talking to different people that have produced movies and produced theater, that have cared for our foster care and orphans, and people who are helping neighbors like the River Oaks folks. You might have remembered a couple of weeks ago, we had a couple of self-ascribed stay-at-home moms that made just a few bologna sandwiches to take down, and now they're putting up tents, and people are still struggling after Harvey. But there's just some wonderful people in our community that you never hear about, that just are doing extraordinary things. And in our first hour, you heard Tina and her journey from looking at the mirror and not really liking perhaps her weight, and now she's lost 60 on the way to maybe even more pounds, and her journey for that. And now I have in the studio, we're talking to Todd Winkel, who happens to be, in a manner of full disclosure, my brother-in-law.
And a cautionary tale.
Who is just always a delight to be. He certainly is certainly a brother. I would say he's not a brother-in-law. He's certainly a brother. Has always welcomed me, but to spend time with Todd, and hopefully he'll cut loose here in our next segment or two and start telling some stories. Of course, we've been on the serious side up until now.
Oh, the stories are coming. Yes,
where he was a history teacher, had always had an affinity for the military, and had told his students in his history classes that as Pearl Harbor happened and those people went to serve, if that in like manner ever happened to us, that he would be one of the first to sign up for the military and serve. And he kept his word. And he, as you will continue to hear, he certainly loves his family and loves his country, and did what so many of us probably talked about, maybe thought about, but he actually did it. He went and enlisted. He picked up a rifle and defended the country. Or
not just a rifle.
I know. Well, I know. I hope we get to the slingshot.
You will get there.
So where we left off was he had gone to several of the branches of military, signed up ultimately with the Army. He is now an infantryman and is about to get his assignment. And this is just going to break some hearts, but go ahead and pick up the story that you're at graduation. You've got a couple of options.
It's graduation the last week. And Monday they come up to me and they say, you're going to Fort Drum, New York, 10th Mountain Division. And I'd heard about those guys. And if you've ever seen Black Hawk Down, those are the guys that eventually helped get the Rangers out of, their pickle that they were in, basically to help get the armored vehicles there to come help them. So I'd heard about the 10th Mountain Division in Fort Drum, New York. And they are some tough dudes. Very tough dudes. They don't wear the mountain patch because they walk on flat land. They are very, and my drill sergeant had been part of 10th Mountain. Well, then Wednesday comes up, and my drill sergeant comes up to me, and he says, you're not going to 10th Mountain. And I go, where am I going? He said, you're going to Kentucky. 101st Airborne. I'm going, 101st Airborne, which is kind of a misnomer. Airborne, you jump out of airplanes, but they rappel out of helicopters. I'm thinking, now I'm going to get to rappel out of helicopters. Do the whole bit. This is going to be awesome.
I'm going to be on a training. I'm going to be on promo video.
Exactly. Or the this is what you don't do in the Army video. The guy that yo-yos on the rope. Exactly. And then it ends up, and here's where it ends up happening. It's graduation day, and my mom and my dad, Nana and Papa, are there, and they're yelling for different guys, and they yell for me, and I get up and they hand me my packet, and they said, in the cleanest of terms, they said, you need to get yourself down to the medic station and you need to get your overseas shots, you're going overseas. And I'm thinking, overseas. That means it's either Germany, Korea, or Hawaii, because I'm not airborne qualified, and guys go to Italy, they're airborne qualified.
Right.
And I thought, knowing the Army, oh, you're going to go to jump school, then you're going to Italy. No, I get my packet, and I said, where am I going? I look at it, and it says 25th Infantry Division, Light, Hawaii, Schofield Barracks. I'm thinking, I got Hawaii. And my drill sergeant's looking at me just with like death in his eyes, like,
dude, seriously.
Dude. And he said, I've been trying to get there for 10 years, and you got it on, because he knew I came with an open contract.
Oh,
so
okay.
I was like, oh my gosh. So I got Hawaii.
And so open contract means you could be sent anywhere.
You join the Army and say, I have an open contract, I want to go anywhere.
Okay.
Which is actually tougher for them, because then they have to wait for people to say, hey, we need to fill a slot. When you first sign up and you say, nope, I want to be infantry, I want to be Hawaii, then you're sent to Hawaii. But me, I filled out the dream sheet, 10 slots of all the places you go, and the last place I wrote was Hawaii, next to my buddy Luke LeBrun. And he said, I'm going to put it too. He said, you think we'll get it? I go, we'll never get it. They'll never send us to Hawaii. We both got Hawaii. And then I served in Iraq with him, and I've lost contact with him. He's off Facebook, but great guy, wonderful dude.
So you're like, don't throw me in that briar patch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So here you are now. At this point, you would have completed basic.
Basic.
Tell us a little
AIT.
bit about basic. So you went in this 260.
I went in weighing 260 pounds
and so,
plus, and 15 weeks later I come out weighing 190.
Yeah.
Could do push-ups, sit-ups, run all day, the whole bit. Our platoon, 3rd Platoon Mad Dogs, were such troublemakers. We were in so much trouble. Our guide on, when your flag is wrapped up, it means that you're in trouble. Okay. For 15 weeks, we only had our flag down maybe for 2 weeks.
Okay.
We were always in trouble. And we were like on our class A's, we're like, he'll never make us do push-ups. No. Our drill sergeant had us do half right face, front lean and rest position, and had us knock out 50 push-ups in our class A's. So like our nicest uniforms.
Right.
No one, that ground is disgusting. So you don't want to like get your uniform way low, but we could all knock it out with no problem.
And how long is basic?
When I went through, it was 15 weeks.
15 weeks. So 15 weeks, you lost 70? No,
I lost 60 pounds.
60 pounds. So we're just for those who may be listening the entire time. So here are the two methods of weight loss. You have Tina, who eats well over 9 or 10 months. She exercises well. She's doing, or you could go into the Army and do it in 15 weeks. Those are your two extreme options.
They put me on the fat body diet, which meant I only got to eat the healthy foods. But the skinny guys, they made them like go eat all the junk foods. So we could all try to get the same weight and all, and try to get us all about the same size and all. But I ate 3 square meals a day. I didn't starve. I wasn't drinking beer. I was 32 years old. Well, 33 when I showed up, and I'm with these 18-year-olds.
Yeah, I was going to say, and you had a nickname.
Oh, the drill sergeant, there is Drill Sergeant Bryant, who's from, of all places, Katy, Texas.
Okay.
So and there were 3 other guys that were from Texas that were in my platoon, and Drill Sergeant Bryant used to call me school teacher. He'd just, school teacher, yell that out, and he'd call me teach. So
that's the one I remember.
Yeah, and then when I got to my unit, when I got to 121, that's when they called me teach, and it was hilarious.
But didn't you have another one though that had to do with your age?
Oh, what, old man?
Gramps.
Gramps.
Wasn't it Gramps?
No, a couple of the guys in the platoon called me Gramps.
Okay.
They that was it. But the drill sergeants called me Teach.
Okay.
Even the other drill sergeants, they walked up to me and they go, "Why did you join?" I joined because of 9/11, because of the terrorist attack. How old are you? I'm 33. They were amazed by that. And I wasn't the only school teacher. There were 2 other school teachers that had signed up. One was in my platoon. The other guy was in 4th platoon. Josh Law was a special ed teacher from Las Vegas. Oh, wow. And he joined up for 2 years, and he went to Fort Hood, Texas.
Okay.
And I blanket on the other guy.
Okay.
He was but I do remember he was a elementary school PE teacher from Rhode Island. And he went to Hawaii with me as well.
It's amazing, isn't it? All the backgrounds that come together, because obviously there's not a draft.
Nope.
So all of the folks probably joined in after 9/11. Mm-hmm. Probably for similar reasons as you, right? Was there a variety of backgrounds and a variety of reasons?
Have you ever seen the movie Stripes? Okay, you know the scene where they're all sitting
Bill
around?
Murray, yeah.
Sergeant Holka,
Francis.
Yes, we had everybody. It was
Okay.
like that. We had the sit down moment where they said, "Tell us your background. Tell us what you did. Did you get a sign on bonus? How much did you get?" They went through all those things, and we had that.
Okay.
And yeah.
Well, what was the most surprising background? Was there anything that surprised you, like that jumped out and went?
Yes, the guy this guy Webster, he was told he could either he had a choice: sign up to the Army for the maximum 6 years per contract, sign up for 6 years,
okay,
or he was looking at doing 10 years in the Texas State Penitentiary for he got drunk at a bar and he beat a guy into the hospital for assault. So he had his choice: 6 years in the Army or 10 years in the state pen.
Oh, wow.
And if you took a look at this guy, you wouldn't think he was the type of guy that would be going to jail or prison or what. And we had a whole big respect for him.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude. So, yeah, that was the most shocking.
Okay.
Out of all of them, but he was a good guy. He just said his problem is alcohol. He has to stay away from it.
Right.
I don't know where he ended up in the Army. I don't know where he served, but he was a good guy.
Okay.
Now, the Alaskans that we trained with.
Okay.
Oh, that was hilarious. It was the biggest number of Alaskans that had trained since World War II.
Oh my gosh.
And while we during one of our training programs, I mean this in the utmost of respect, but when they talked, they all sounded like little old men.
Okay.
But they were the nicest guys. They would do anything to help you. Very, very good guys. And they asked the drill sergeant, "Can we speak our own language to get to the hill?" And, drill sergeants use colorful adjectives. And he said, "I don't care what you yell, as long as you take that objective." And there is nothing like watching these 8 Alaskans yelling in their native language how to bound ahead to get to the objective. And it was frightening. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about those guys, because it's like,
because you're speaking Texan.
I'm speaking Texan. We've got guys speaking English, and then these guys are speaking, and they were from Wasilla, Alaska. I'll never forget that.
Sarah Palin.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where Sarah Palin's
and
from.
she was their mayor at that time.
Nah.
Yes. It was very funny.
And it's just an amazing array of people, backgrounds, languages,
backgrounds, cultures. Our platoon, the grand majority of us, we got along. It was good.
Well, we are talking with Todd Winkel, who was a history teacher. 9/11 happened. He is in basic training. And when we come back from the break, I want to talk to him after basic happens and his tours, some of his experiences with that. So stick with us, and we'll talk to you after the break. Again, Ted Cox hosting the Good News program on irlonestar.com.
Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
And welcome back to the Good News Show on Lone Star Community Radio. We're broadcasting out of downtown Conroe, Texas. If you're listening on the FM dial, you're listening to us either on 104.5 or 106.1. And as you get landed in your destination, you can pick the show back up by streaming it live on irlonestar.com. We have in the studio with us Todd Winkel, a history teacher turned Army infantryman following 9/11. And before we heard the inspirational story of Tina, who came in and talked to us about just the journey of losing 60 pounds. And that, again, is over a 9 and 10 month period. Of course, Todd has just told us that The Army version of that would be 15 weeks of 3 hots and
a
a lot of running and push-ups. So Todd has got, he told many of his classes, perhaps all of his classes, that as Pearl Harbor happened, as a history teacher will always want to do, is to put current events into historical context. He says, basically, if this were to ever happen, I'm going to sign up. And he did. 9/11 happened. He was watching it in his classroom on the television and signed up, went into the infantry in the Army. He's now gone through basic training, has got the very unenviable position of being stationed in Hawaii, of all places. I feel so bad for you.
It was.
You probably just got sick of pineapple.
So glad I served my country in Hawaii.
Well, you're
duty.
welcome, and thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
that's one thing I've been remiss in saying is thank you for your service. I know that every time I talk to someone who served, whether it's in the military as you did, firemen, policemen, every time you try to thank them, it's almost an embarrassment. So I don't want to embarrass you because you are a humble guy. You served. You truly love your country, and you served in defending the freedom that we now enjoy and get to complain about. So thank you very much for that. So no need to respond. I know you're
glad to have served, and it's just what I felt like I needed to do. So
and you did. You did what
you're welcome. Not
yes,
a problem.
Thank you. So you did what many of us didn't do. You signed up and you went through basic, and so you can pick up the story. I know we've talked about a number of stories. You could probably talk for hours about your deployment. So talk a little bit about as you're deployed and pick up the story wherever you'd like.
When we were in Hawaii, we were told not long after I got in Hawaii, there was the incident in the Philippines where these hotel guests had all been attacked and had been they've been murdered and slaughtered by these I forget the terrorist organization that was there. So we were thinking that we were going to be going to the Philippines because the 25th Infantry is supposed to stay in the Pacific, and we're trained for jungle fighting. So we don't know where we're going to go. Are we going to go to Afghanistan? Are we going to go to Iraq? Are we going to go to the Philippines? So we're thinking the Philippines. And I remember our entire, our battalion that's made up of 4 companies are all sitting in this area. And then, we're getting a briefing from, a couple of these lieutenants.
Right.
And then the lieutenant colonel comes in, Lieutenant Colonel Dewhurst. And we're like, when a colonel or higher, a field grade comes in,
right,
that's a major hire. They call group attention. Everyone jumps up and you stand up, and and the colonel comes in and group attention. Everyone stands up and goes, "All right, boys, at ease." And he says, "Look, I've got the news. Here's where we're going."
Okay.
He said, "We're going to Iraq."
Okay.
He said, "Contact your families, let them know, inform them. We don't know where we're going, but let them know we are going over. We don't have a date. We don't have a time." There was nothing given.
Okay.
And this is about this time of year in 2003, because we deployed in 2004.
Okay.
So we had an idea. So we all got to go on Christmas leave, and then we deployed in January. And I remember all these kids come up and ask me, "Why are we going there? What's there? I'm like, "Guys, look, they tell us where to go. We go and we serve." And that's, I said, Saddam Hussein has been, the only rationale I can give y'all is Bush had said, if you support terrorism, you're equal to terrorism.
Right.
Saddam Hussein had been writing checks to all these family of these, suicide bombers, Hamas and what have you. So the equation is, if you support terrorists, then you're part of terrorism. So we're going to go there. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I want to take on Al-Qaeda. I'm kind of like, well, okay, I guess we're going to Iraq. But so I wasn't, I wanted to go fight, the Taliban. I wanted to go fight Al-Qaeda. I wanted to go there. But again, you go where you're deployed to.
Right.
So we deployed on January 21st.
Okay.
And we were there 13 months. And it was, we actually arrived in Kuwait. We got acclimated to the climate, and then we proceed up to Kirkuk.
Okay.
That's where I was stationed on the Kirkuk Regional Air Base, the KRAB, and they called it the Crab. And in the military, and in the military, I have to tell you all this.
Yes,
my
please.
military experience would be like if you took Black Hawk Down, MASH, mixed it a little with the Marx Brothers movie and Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and there you go. It it was an amalgam of really. You know, I'd grown up on all these John Wayne movies, Green Beret, you know, all you know, 80s on a kid, Rambo and all that stuff. And it's It's like, oh my
Chuck Norris.
God, yes, and
He's a Texan.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he was Air Force, but I'm not going to go any further than that.
Well, and so you're there, and of course, I mean, certainly some of the stories you'll tell today, or we'll tell today, are more on the humorous side. But it was a very serious situation.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're in the middle of the fighting.
Well, mine was really interesting. Okay, I get there and I had something on my knee. It was basically I can describe it as a wart. Okay, I had this thing. So I have Major Hellman take a look at it. Well, this is the first time the 25th got to do surgery since Vietnam, and this is why I was so big for the 25th. They hadn't made any deployments to combat zones since Vietnam. Now we were going to be, so I got to make history. I earned my combat patch with them.
Okay.
So Major Hellman's getting to do surgery in a combat zone. He's all excited. You don't want an excited, officer cutting your leg.
Right.
But they got all the medics around. They put xylocaine into my knee. They're cutting this abscess, whatever the heck it is.
Right.
And what was hilarious about it was after they got it done, I had this NCO who was he's a jerk. Oh, just a jerk.
No names.
I'll just say that it rhymes with brags. I'll just put it that way. So anyway, he always wanted proof that you had been somewhere. So I come walking in. I've got a bandage around my leg. I have a Ziploc bag with this piece of it, my knee cut out. And right in front of the colonel, the command sergeant major, another sergeant major, then the major, all these law officers, I walk in, and there's Sergeant Braggs. I said, "You wanted proof. Here's your proof." And I mean, they're like, "What is that?" And I'm telling them what it is.
Oh, gosh.
And Colonel Dewhurst goes, "Oh, Winkle, you were just living up that specialist life, aren't you?" I'm an E4. I'm just E4 mafia all the way. And they're like looking at it and they're like, "Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, wow." And, there's nothing like watching them all suddenly. They're all these officers and suddenly all turn into like football players. Oh, that's the coolest thing, dude. And I ended up flying up to Iraq. So I flew. I didn't go on the convoy because I couldn't bend my knee.
Okay.
So I landed in Kirkuk at night in a C-130 under fire with mortars and rockets and RPGs. And they were just, I'm sure there were a couple on the other side I'm surprised they didn't bring out trebuchets and everything else, catapults, flaming torches.
Pumpkin chunking.
Pumpkin chunking. And I tell you what, that's the most amazing thing is, when I tell people, well, as a Methodist, I was dry cleaned, we get sprinkled. And then in September, when I was about 20, I was probably about 28, I was baptized at Forest Cove Baptist Church, so I got the full soak.
Okay.
And thanks to the Army, I got baptized by fire by the insurgents lobbing explosives at me. And that was pretty surreal,
Can't imagine.
Oh, having Captain Hampton come running up saying, "Welcome to Kirkuk. They wanted to give you a warm greeting." I'm thinking it's going to get warmer if we don't get out of this airplane all filled with fuel. And so that was my
so now you're landed.
So I'm landed, and
I'm sorry. Yeah, I know you want to tell a story, but I want you to. But so you're inside the
perimeter,
the green zone or whatever it's called.
Well, yeah, the perimeter of the air base.
And so the enemy is lobbing stuff at you.
Yes.
And I'm sure you felt quite safe, right? So.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Giant Voice. The Air Force had one half of the base. We had the other half. They called theirs the light side. Ours was the dark side, kind of like the moon. And they had this big microphone thing called Giant Voice. And if anything happened, it was funny. There was a girl that was on there, and she'd go, "This is Giant Voice. Seek immediate shelter." And I mean, it was like, wow, who is she? And and she did. She had a very pleasant voice. But what was funny is you'd have a mortar or a rocket come in and boom, it would hit. And then about 3 minutes later, you'd hear, "This is Giant Voice. Seek immediate shelter." It's like really 3 minutes later.
So you always felt safe that they were always way ahead of the enemy.
Yes. When Giant Voice came on, you knew we'd already been hit 3 minutes ago. So it was unless you happen to be there at the POI, the point of impact.
Right.
But yeah, Giant Voice. And then when she went on leave, we found out, and we had a guy who sounded like the 15-year-old on The Simpsons who had the broken voice going, "This is Giant Voice." He sounded like Peter Brady going through puberty. It was the funniest thing. We're like, Oh, I mean, guys would be throwing stuff at the big tower that had the speakers because this poor guy, we didn't like him. We want her back.
Now, did you ever find out who it was? Did you ever meet them in the?
I got to meet them
in the eating area, the mess area,
in the chow hall. I got to meet them, and the guy with.
Was it very different than what you had in mind? You have a picture in your head, and you go, "Wow, that's weird."
The picture I had of the guy with the broken voice and all that sounded like he was 13. Yeah, he kind of looked like he was about 13. He's probably in his 20s, but he I've got glasses. He had glasses. He was a teenager looking type, but the girl had the most beautiful blue eyes and this red hair, and it's like, okay, you were not what I was imagining. You were she was like much more attractive than
right.
And of course, she's probably like in her 20s, and all my buddies, there we are, and they're like, she's out of your league, Wink. I said, I'm not worried about league. She's so young.
See,
I'm an old man, so
that's what happens, Gramps.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're in the studio talking today on the Good News Show. I'm Ted Cox, your host, every Thursday afternoon, and we're talking to Todd Winkel, who was a history teacher in high school. 9/11 happened. He signed up for the Army Infantry, and now we find him in Iraq. And so when we come back, we'll have just our last segment with him. So he'll tell us a couple of stories, and we'll want to say a collective thank you for serving. So we'll be right back after our break.
Relax with a cup of joe or your favorite drink for the Conroe Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce Chamber Chat. The show airs on the first Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. on Lone Star Community Radio. Join hosts Courtney Galley and Brian Bondi as they chat about the Chamber's events and programs for the month, and invite Chamber members into the studio to talk about their upcoming events and businesses. Learn about your Chamber with Chamber Chat every first Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5 and 106.1 and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
And welcome back to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. We are broadcasting out of Conroe, Texas, and we're here every Thursday afternoon, Central Time, 1 to 3. So if you're streaming live at a different time zone, you can pick us up live and every Thursday afternoon. Again, the show is designed to take a break from the hard news and many times the bad news of what's going on around the nation, around the state, and around the world, and just in this case, we're here with Todd Winkel, who answered the call and the feeling that he had from really childhood, that if anything resembling sort of a Pearl Harbor were to happen, that he would go and serve his country. And he was certainly knew, being a high school history teacher, learning a bunch of history, and then of course teaching history, that he could put things like 9/11 into proper perspective, not only for his students but also for himself. And so we're talking to him about getting into the military, getting into the Army Infantry, being now deployed in Iraq. And of course, we're telling a few funny stories. But in the brief time that we have left, which is we have about 10 minutes, so I know there's some things you want to talk about and some things that would be helpful. So we're on the base. So I know you want to talk a little bit about being out and engaged with the enemy. But then I know what's near and dear to your heart is helping your fellow brothers and sisters in the military as they come back home.
Yeah.
So while we have a compressed time, I want to give you as much time to talk as possible. So I'll turn it back over and we pick it back up, I guess, and getting out engaged.
So there I am up on the airbase.
Yep.
And eventually, I was assigned to my company where I got to go actually do my job of the infantry. I was no longer, we got a guy who's college educated, 33, not an officer. Hey, let's put him in every office job we have. I eventually got to do my job of being an infantryman. And they took me out to the shooting range and they said, hey, show us what you can do on the SAW. That's the squad automatic weapon. It's the light machine gun. and they had a 55-gallon drum out 600 meters, and I was ringing that thing like a bell, and I was like, am I done yet? No, keep shooting, Wink, keep shooting. And eventually I did very well, and Sergeant Guffey, who I still keep in contact with, a lot of guys I reconnected with thanks to social media.
Right.
He slaps me on the shoulder and goes, "Congratulations, Winky. Your life expectancy in initial contact is 2.3 seconds. You're our new saw gunner."
My God. Well, and again, I know you want to follow the track of your story, but I understand you're also certified in another lethal weapon.
Oh, yeah.
So I know you have limited time, and I know you want to talk about readjustment back after, but if you want to kind of share your other certification.
Well,
maybe not.
No. I'll share it. We were told the Army actually put out an order that to get vehicles out of the way, we weren't allowed to bump them with our Humvees because guys were loading their vehicles with explosives. The Humvee would bump them, they detonate, and then take out the Humvee. So they're telling us to throw brass casings. Now let me explain something to you. A brass casing is like throwing a big pin in a vehicle moving 50 miles an hour. It kind of goes to the end of your vehicle and then flies back at you. So I wrote to my dad, "Dear Dad, this is what's going on. P.S. Please send a slingshot. I'll explain later." So Dad sends me 2 slingshots. So I get these slingshots. Of course, Papa wants to make sure we're armed. So I had a slingshot, and it was one of those wrist rockets, so it's a really good one. And I paid an Iraqi kid $5. I said, "Get me as many, I need you to get me 3 bags of marbles and then keep the change." And he comes back, and I got marbles that could fill up an ammo can. So I used the slingshot to shoot marbles at the vehicles in front of us so that the vehicles would look in the rearview mirror and then get out of our way. And I didn't tell Captain Byrd, I didn't tell First Sergeant Jennings what I had up there. And they're thinking, they hear history teacher. They thought I was a PE coach and thought I had an arm like Nolan Ryan. And then when we pulled over, they said, "Wink, whatever you're throwing, that's awesome." I said, "It's just this." And I held up my slingshot. And I said, when you're in the back 40 of the Bible, you got it, Bible land, Holy Land, you got to go biblical. So they laughed. And so, we left that slingshot up on that gun truck with the marbles. The guys knew that they could shoot the marbles, and then got vehicles out of our way. If they didn't get out of the way, then guys were like, I tried to shoot underneath so it'd make as much noise.
Right.
I don't know what other guys did. We didn't have to pay for any broken windows or any smashed out taillights or anything, but thank God. But
and of course, as you know, as a history, there's the different guns are named after different people who invented them, right? Gatling.
Right.
So do you think your slingshot has your name on it back in?
Oh, no.
As you know, it didn't.
Oh, no, I didn't get that lucky. No. The Texas T. No,
Yeah.
I just know that it was helpful to have that. I got to do walking patrols. I got to do, I got to go on 2 raids. One of them happened to be on Halloween night, of all things. We got to do, I got to do the job I was trained for. Then I came back to Hawaii. And, when you're still on the base and you're still in the Army, you don't really have to adjust much because you still have everybody in the same mindset.
Right.
But when I got out in 2006, in July of 2006, readjusting to civilian world to go from the strict hard lines of the military, it was not easy. It was, people, just didn't relate or didn't understand. There weren't not many, this is like OIF2 or OIF3 was going on by then. So you didn't have as many people who had served, joined up, and went over.
Right.
Trying to fit back in, it was a bit of adjustment. Having people, now the thing is, people were very polite, very, "Hey, thanks for your service." It's kind of like they were making up for what wasn't done for the Vietnam veterans. They were kind of like, in some ways, sometimes almost going overboard. Those were
generally genuine.
Oh, genuine, heartfelt thank yous, and I would just say, "You're welcome." To this day, I just say, "Oh, you're welcome." I just felt called to do it. You're welcome. It's Memorial Day that when people go, "Hey, thank you for your service." Memorial Day is for those guys who, I say thank you on Memorial Day for the people and the people who can't say you're welcome. That's my thing on Memorial Day. Veterans Day is my day. Memorial Day is to remember those who died while serving.
Right.
Like Hubbard, who died, and Specialist Donica, and he wasn't with my unit, but he was a spring native here in Texas.
Okay.
You know, there, William Bushnell was the guy I served with in 235, and he went to Fort Bliss, and he was promoted to sergeant. He was eventually killed.
Okay.
There were a lot of guys, Richwell Doria, So, there's, when coming back, you're trying to adjust, and, when you had the traumatic, I know how a fish feels when they're in a barrel and, they're being shot at.
Okay.
And, they're, you don't have much patience for, I'll have a lot of patience, but then the problem is, when you hit a point and it's like, how do you react or how do you do it?
Right.
I've never, I shouldn't say never had incident, but there have been moments, there have been instances, they have been recorded with the VA, to my doctor. I have a very wonderful counselor at the vet center who helps me out, and she's awesome. Dr. Bishop at the VA has been extremely helpful. Monica Garcia at the vet center has been extremely helpful.
So, but you were talking right before we went back on air in the last segment that, that the adjustment, the one thing you wanted to impart is that if other people, if other veterans are feeling this need, you want to let people know, go get help.
Go get help.
Okay.
Go get help. Yes, the VA has got its problems. Yes, you had to wait in line, but go get help. One of my buddies, he went and got help. He lives up in Kentucky, and he admitted to everybody, that we're all part of the same page, and we're all very proud of him.
Right.
The military has this unwritten doctrine of you got to be macho and tough and blah blah blah. You know what? When times get tough, who do you rely on? The guy who's got your six, the guy to your left, and your guy to your right. Well, then. Right. Going to the VA, going to the vet center, going to the hospital is just like getting someone to cover your left or your right.
Right.
There's, lay down the ego. It's, you don't have to prove anything to anybody.
Right.
You've already done it. You signed up when we were in a time of war.
Right.
Go talk to someone.
You did what the vast majority of us didn't. And so, but if people wanted to reach out to you, they can find you on Facebook?
They can find me on Facebook.
If a veteran were to be struggling, listening to us now, I mean, you'd want to encourage them.
Yeah, I would encourage you to go, and my number one thing is if you're having trouble, go to the VA.
Okay.
Definitely go to the VA. They can do a lot that we can't do, and go to your local VFW, and they can help you get some good advice. So that's what I recommend.
Well, Todd, thank you for coming in. We so appreciate what you did, your stories. We definitely want to have you maybe back and tell some more of the funny stories. I want to thank Tina in the first hour, and we'll look forward to talking with you next Thursday, 1 o'clock.
Thanks for checking out this podcast of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. If you enjoyed this recording, make sure to check out our past shows online at irlonestar.com or their respective video or podcast formats on YouTube, Google Play, or iTunes. If you have any questions regarding the show, either it being about sponsorships or questions for the host, contact the station manager at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776. This show is recorded in downtown Conroe, Texas, at the Lone Star Community Radio Studios, and Lone Star Community Radio reserves all rights to this recording and images.